This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability. From LAist and APM, American Public Media, it's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm your host, Jen Largis. On today's show, architect Charlie Hailey on why the porch is experiencing a revival and how to make the most of yours.
There's a real desire for us to connect with people and also the environment, and porches do that really, really well.
Musician Nathaniel Rateliff turned a neglected mountain cabin into the creative haven of his dreams.
You can't really be in the master bedroom or anywhere in the house and not hear the music happening.
Kamaria Gray of Detroit's Hoodstead Farm tells you how to start your own garden, wherever you call home. All of this, plus we're answering your home improvement questions at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Coming up right after the news. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. We begin today's episode with architect and author Charlie Hailey, whose book, The Porch, Meditations on the Edge of Nature, looks at one of the most familiar and overlooked spaces in American life. He joins us to talk about why porches are experiencing a building revival, as we seek ways to reconnect our homes to nature, community, and the world beyond our front door. Charlie Hailey, welcome to This Old House Radio Hour.
Thanks, Jen. It's great to be here.
So let's lay a little bit of groundwork here, because there's a lot of different versions of what could be on the front of your home or even the back. So what are the differences between a porch, a patio, and let's say a deck or a stoop?
Great question. I think all of those spaces serve as kinds of thresholds. They're on the edges of spaces where we live, but I really like how porches pull all of those together. Porches are often raised so that increases airflow underneath the space, and that means they have what amounts to a stoop's steps and also that elevation, a place where you can pause and talk. And then they also have that wonderful light of a patio and a deck's informality. One of the other things that makes a porch is its 6 sides. It's really amounts to an outdoor room.
There is this sort of comfortable connection you can make on a porch where you haven't committed to a longer indoor visit. It can be a little more informal.
That's right. Yeah, they're great for that. It's active as well as passive. We often, during storms, we really like sitting out on our porch and sort of pushing
we do too.
Back up against that edge so that we're, just out of the rain. And many times the rain comes in, even that far anyway. But it's that wonderful being out in the storm, but also being relatively protected.
The first night we moved into our house, it was the first time we ever had a porch. And my husband and I, was pouring rain. We had just put the kids to bed for the first time in the new house. And we went and sat right on the floor of the porch and watched the storm and realized that this was going to very quickly become our new favorite space.
That's great. Yeah, it is. It's the space where we spend most of our time as well. And it's just that wonderful, relaxing, but also highly connected space.
So why do you think we're seeing such a significant increase in people building porches right now?
I think there's a real desire for us to connect with people and also the environment. And porches do that really, really well.
If our listeners are looking to add a porch to their home, or if they're building a home and they're looking for that to be an important part, what features do you think they should consider?
One of the things is 4 elements to a porch: tilt, screen, air, and blue. And the tilt part is every porch, and really every porch should have this, is a sloped floor. Some floors slope more than others. Our cabin porch is 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch to the foot. Our porches here a little bit less. But what that does is it allows for the rain to come in and to go out. It also gives you that really interesting awareness of the ground as you walk across a porch. And then screens offer degrees of protection. And then air, it's really important to think about the natural ventilation and the air currents and the winds and the breezes. And porches are so good at capturing those. So you really want to think about where that occurs in your house or building. I mean, in a way, air is a material for the porch. And then blue, there's this incredible calming effect that a blue-green shade of color offers on a porch. So it really, I mean, porches are already hopefully calm and relaxing spaces, but that painting the ceiling blue really adds to that feel of a porch.
Is there anything that you could add to a porch that you think helps it become this sort of connected space?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think really anything that is a part of daily life, I would argue could be a part of the porch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we play card games on the porch. We take naps on the porch, even watch TV on the porch. Pretty much anything that you kind of bring from your everyday life inside to the outside adds just another dimension.
Mm-hmm. Why are porches so unique to America?
Porches are responses to particular climates. And, there's porch-like structures really around the world. But one thing that makes North America's porches unique, I think, has been availability of wood that allows for these light structures to be attached to buildings. And those buildings often are detached houses. So there's all kinds of regional variations of porches being attached to dwellings.
And connecting to the specific regions, can you explain how a porch maybe in the Pacific Northwest might be different from a Midwest porch? Do they have different characteristics to them?
I spent a little bit of time in California, and there were all these really interesting interpretations of the porch, and particularly the sleeping porch. There's actually one at the King's Roadhouse by an architect named Rudolf Schindler that reinterpreted the sleeping porch as these sleeping baskets. There's beautiful redwood baskets that he suspended up in the rooftop of the house. And really what allowed for that was I don't want to say moderate, but reasonably moderate climate in that part of the country. And then in the Southeast, I think it's really trying to deal with humidity and insects. And that's why the screen porch in the southeastern area has become such a important part of domestic life.
What do you think a porch of the future looks like?
I actually hope that our houses become more like porches. Porches are so attuned to the environment, and they're so good at connecting people. And really, they are by definition sustainable and resilient. As we embrace porches, we continue to learn from what they offer in things like passive cooling, things like energy efficiency, and the way that they connect us to nature and to where we live. So, they're places for us to acclimate to all the changes that are around us. I think that aspect of them is really what's made them an enduring aspect of the places we live.
Well, I think it's so interesting to think specifically about any one part of architecture. And I can't say that I've ever thought this deeply about the porch. I knew I obviously loved our own, but I'd never really thought about all the different uses. Well, we thank you for being here, and we thank you for all of this spotlight knowledge on porches. I think it's so interesting.
Thank you very much.
That was Charlie Hailey. You can get The Porch, Meditations on the Edge of Nature, wherever books are sold. Right now, we're tackling your DIY and home improvement questions. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. And we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Emily Wheaty from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Hi, Emily. What are you calling in for today?
Yeah, so I moved into this 1925 house maybe 2 years ago, and out front, leading up to my front door, is like a decorative brick wall. It kind of is railing. Anyways, there's bugs living under the bricks, just behind the face of the bricks. And so my question is, how does one go about fixing that?
All right. Well, to answer your question, we have the show's Mason Mark McCullough and general contractor Zach Detmore on the line.
Hey, Emily, Zach here.
Hi, Zach.
Did you say there's bugs living in your wall?
Yeah, so it's right behind kind of the face of the bricks. They've been slowly peeling off over the years. Really gross, so I'm kind of avoiding the project. But anyways, just this winter now it's thawed out. It's getting a lot worse, and the bricks really are kind of squishy and crumbly now, too. So I'm wondering if you've heard of such a thing, if you have any recommendations on how to solve.
Mark, have you ever met a squishy, crumbly brick?
Many. It's
many.
Actually,
Okay. What does that
not
mean?
even kidding. It's actually a pretty common problem over here in our neck of the woods. I actually see a lot of bees and beehives that get built into, again, the cavities of the brick. But what you have, Emily, sounds like water infiltration, and that statement is twofold because it sounds like, well, Minnesota is the giveaway. Number one, very cold, so we see the freeze thaw in that area quite often. And once it starts, it's hard to control until you plug that hole up. And believe it or not, the dampness of the brick and the mortar attracts all sorts of bugs. And once they get in, it's home. So is it hard to get them out of there? No, not at all. If you have a good local exterminator, they'll come over. They'll take care of the situation, get the bugs out of there. They'll give you some preventive maintenance, meaning, again, plug that hole up. But you should also, once you get the bugs out of there, think about hiring a mason to repair anything that is causing the crumbling of the brick. Again, it's definitely going to be freeze thaw. And in walls, especially exterior walls, we see the water coming in from the top quite a bit. So depending on what you have for a cap, and usually if it's a brick cap, you can see some broken joints, and that's where snow, water, ice will all drip into the cavity of the wall and make a home for some of these insects. Have you ever seen anything like that, Zach, anywhere up your way? Or
Yeah, that's what we call a pollinator wall.
Great. Right. I love the
strategically
name,
planted.
That's what it is. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I'm always very concerned when I see sort of brick that you can crumble like that. But this is not part of the house. This is a wall that's separating. This is like in the garden with a gate on it.
Yeah, no gate. It's just like a freestanding wall, kind of like used for support of your hand as you're walking up a few stairs.
Got it. So yeah, I think Mark, you're spot on. Just get the bugs out, repair it, make sure water doesn't get into it. But yeah, I would be really concerned if it was like a veneer brick that's on the front of on the front of the house, because there could be moisture getting in that you can't see. But if it's separated, then do exactly what Mark's saying, and I think you'll be good to go. You'll just have to switch back and start buying honey at the store again.
Bummer. Beautiful. And I mean, is there anything in the meantime?
In the meantime, I think, again, if you can identify where the water's getting in and plug that up, again, you're gonna stay dormant. But the first thing I would do actually is call that exterminator and see what they think.
Oh, I have him on speed dial.
Oh, well, should be easy then.
There you go. Well, Emily, thanks so much for calling. We hope we answered your question, and we hope you have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. Bye-bye.
Bye.
After the break, our experts answer more of your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Coming up on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist at 8 p.m. Stay tuned. This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from APM and LAist. I'm your host, Jen Largis. All right, folks, it's time for a little fun. We're going to play What's That Sound? Here's how it works. Producer Matt has been lurking around job sites and workbenches with a microphone, capturing all sorts of mysterious sounds. Our two fierce competitors are battling it out so their lucky listener can win a custom voicemail message recorded by the one and only Richard Trethewey. Now let's meet our contestants. Up first, representing listener Joe from Brooklyn. Joining us today is the founder of TE2 Engineering, the building engineer for This Old House, and a cast member who applied a Moneyball approach to his kids' t-ball team. It's Ross Trethewey.
Hey, Jen.
And playing for Mary from Indio, California, facing off against Ross, is the owner of Detmore Home Improvements, a general contractor for the show, and the cast member who manages his kids' Little League team like the 1986 Mets. It's Zach Detmore.
Hello, Jen.
All right, so producer Matt is going to play one mysterious sound. Ross and Zach will guess what that sound is. The player who guesses correctly wins the game for their listener. Now, here is this week's sound.
I'm going to go with a concrete mixer that someone threw a shoe in.
You're disqualified.
This
That's a
always
really good
happens,
guess.
Jen.
All right, Ross, what's that sound?
That's a really good guess. Ah, man.
We're leaning into your expertise. I'll give you that.
Oh, whoa. We're throwing the hints out after I put my guess out there?
You weren't even close enough to get a hint.
I'll go with a dryer drum, electric dryer. Da-dunk, da-dunk. I don't know. That's a hard one. What do we got?
All right. The answer is a duct expansion.
Oh, the da-dunk sound.
All right. So, Ross, what is a duct expansion?
So when you have a duct that is, let's say it's undersized or it's not rigid enough, meaning that the sheet metal, the galvanized sheet metal isn't thick enough, and you have a air handler or fan system that turns on when it initially pressurizes the duct system. If it's not properly designed right, it's going to make this da-dunk sound, and you can hear. And so this really happens on really like wide ductwork, where you have like really, they talk about aspect ratio, the width and the height. When they're really, really long, that's where you get that buckling, that da-dunk sound. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. And the information does redeem you, which makes you our winner for today. So you have won on behalf of Joe from Brooklyn, New York. He's going to be getting a custom voicemail from the one and only Richard Trethewey. If you want an expert to play on your behalf, call our hotline now and ask us a question about something going on at your home. That's 877-864-7460, 877-864-7460. Ross and Zach, thanks for playing.
My pleasure.
Was it?
Thanks, Jen.
You're listening to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Right now, we're tackling your DIY and home improvement questions. We've got an expert on site to help you get the job done right. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. And we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Chung Pham. I'm calling from Exton, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Chung. What are you calling in about today?
Well, my wife and I bought a house in Exton a few years ago, and clearly the previous owners had a hot tub in the deck, but all that's left now is a big hole. And so we were hoping to reclaim that space for guest seating and hoping to find a way to cover the hole in the safest and easiest way possible without having to replace the whole deck.
All right. Well, we've got Charlie Silva, a builder for the show, and Zach Detmore here on the line. Charlie, what do you think is the easiest way for him to get started on this project?
You've already said that sounds like the decking is in good shape and the rest of the deck except this hole from the hot tub.
Yeah, yep, it's in reasonable shape.
Is this something you're going to do yourself or have a contractor?
Probably myself and some very generous family members.
That's great to
Those
hear.
are the best kind of helpers.
So what I would do is identify what the material is, the decking, whether it's an epay, a fir, pressure treated, whatever it happens to be, identify that. And if you can't, take a picture of it and some measurements with a tape measure to see what it is and go to your nearest lumberyard, check out the framing, what that might be. And literally, you're just going to fill in that area. And if you have to put structure across one side to the other and use timber hangers through the process to support them, and you can always look that stuff up online, what that all means. But and literally just put it back together. Now, as far as the decking goes, I would patch the decking in and weave it into like a wood floor going back and forth so it doesn't look like a big square sitting there as a patch job. Zach, what do you think?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I mean, my first thing that came to mind was just, call a concrete truck, back it up to the hole and fill it up. But, Charlie's idea sounds a little bit more eloquent than mine.
Zach, when someone wants to put a hot tub in their deck, is it okay just to cut a hole and cut away the framing? What's the integrity of the rest of the deck when you do something like that?
I think usually it's planned for. Depends.
You would hope.
I don't know how tall, how high off the ground this is, Chung. Is it just sort of slightly recessed, like a foot or two?
No, so it actually is pretty high off the ground. It's about 6 feet off the ground, and they did build a support platform beneath it with concrete footings underneath. So I guess that was the question. Is it easiest just to remove the framing and then, say, sister the joists, or should we try to use the existing base for more safety? I don't know if that's necessary because it's not a giant hole, right? It's like 6 feet by 6 feet or so.
I like the sister idea.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And you don't need the bottom part because that was for the hot tub.
Right. We don't need that much, support, I guess.
I mean, if for some reason it was supporting beside the hot tub in the hole to carry the framing around the hot tub, you got to look at that and maybe you post down for those. But if it was just for the hot tub itself, then you don't need it. But just make sure there's no posts going up to a support beam like Zach said, a sistered one.
Cool.
It seems pretty straightforward. You'd almost just want to rinse and repeat here, right? You see how the framing is, you fill in the hole, get the right decking, and I personally would weave it in so it looks like it's not a patch.
Right. That makes sense. Awesome.
Or get a hot tub.
Yeah, and then maybe you pressure wash that whole deck, try and make it look all fresh and clean.
Yes, for sure. Yes. Yeah, we'll do. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
That'll be the satisfying part of this job.
Yes, indeed.
Take care. Good luck to you.
Right now, we're tackling your DIY and home improvement questions. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460, and we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hello, this is Sherry from Overland Park, Kansas.
Hi, Sherry. What's your question today?
I own a 36-year-old two-story home, and I have never had any electrical issues. But recently, I got a new homeowner's insurance policy, and the company has partnered with a third party to offer a free arc fault detection device that plugs into an outlet, and it includes 3 years of monitoring and a repair credit if issues are detected. So sure, of course, I want to be safe from fire. I thought, why not? Then I did some research, and I found such devices can have a high rate of false positives. Plus, the insurance company can use my data for underwriting, claims handling, pricing. That makes me uncomfortable. So my question is about the reliability of such devices, whether I should go ahead and install it or if there are some DIY alternatives.
Okay. Well, I have Ross Strathui, the building engineer for This Old House, and Zach Detmore, a building contractor for the show, both on the line.
Hey, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Ross, what do you think? What is an arc fault detector?
Arc fault monitors or arc fault detectors obviously detect electrical arcs in a wiring network inside of a building, right? So if you have a house, you've got power wires that are running throughout the house to power up all the appliances in your home, and then there's arcing that can occur. The most typical example I give is if someone put a screw or a nail into a wire. Basically the metal to, if you puncture the jacket of the wire, you now have an open electrical circuit that can arc to that screw or nail, and that would potentially create a fire, right? So arcing is a real issue, and it's a concern, and fires create a lot of damage, obviously. So we want to be sensitive to that.
And Ross, what does this have to do with the large boat with all the animals inside?
No, wrong arc, Zach.
Are you talking about Noah?
You
stumped
Ross, though. That was a good one.
Loop. I know. He thought I was trying to get some actual information.
I was like, wait a second.
You almost got him.
You know what I don't have much to say about arcing, except we have had a lot of issues with arc fault breakers being tripped by appliances with compressors when they first sort of changed the electrical code, such as refrigerators and that type of thing. But This reminds me of car insurance companies started offering like a monitor they would put into the OBD2 port on your car to sort of see, give you a discount for good driving. And this feels like it's for your house. You know, they're like, how many refrigerators you got in there?
Yeah.
You got 30 refrigerators? We're going to raise your energy. We're going to raise your insurance.
Exactly.
Putting Noah's Ark aside for a second, the way I think about it is that I'm a big fan of monitoring. I do monitoring in my house just for peace of mind. Arc monitors don't catch all faults, right? They do have false positives. There are situations of that. I think most of the Arc fault manufacturers that detect these things, they'll tell you that they have a 70 to 80% success rate. So they don't catch everything. But the way I view it too is that the information is powerful to know that your electrical signatures in your home are working correctly and that you have at least 70% or 80% on your side, so to speak, right? And so I view it as, is it a net positive? To me, they are, right? Because I have at least information about my home and I have the ability to view any arcing history and at least hopefully catch 70, 80% of what potential chances of an arc that might be created in the future. Sure. The tricky part is the whole insurance part of it, you know?
Right.
The kind of analogy I give is when we use navigation on our phones, you know, we're giving up information about our car and our location to be able to use the navigation, the GPS, as a feature of that and a function of that app. And so you're giving up your location, you're giving up privacy, you're giving up those situations. But the net benefit is you get the fastest, pathway to get from point A to point B. And so I think of the same thing here with arc fault monitoring and other similar things where we're giving up a little bit of privacy, right? So that they can see electrical signatures inside of our house. But the net benefit there is that we hopefully catch more fires in homes, which is one of the number one insurance claims in the country.
Okay.
Is there any way to monitor without going through her insurance company?
Yeah, absolutely. You could buy your own, but still that is an internet connected device, right? That has data. So that company of whichever company it is will have access to that data. So someone somewhere has access to that data.
Whether it's your insurance or the company that you buy it through privately. Got it.
Exactly. Sherry, does that answer your question?
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I really appreciate your help. And I'll watch carefully as any animals go through the house.
Thanks for being a good sport.
We appreciate your call. Thanks for calling in.
Take care.
Right now, we're answering your questions at 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Sam from Virginia. How are y'all doing?
Hi, Sam. Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
All right. What's your question today?
Yeah, so my house was built in 1934. It is a 4-square brick colonial revival, and I don't have an exhaust fan in my bathroom, so I'm looking to add one in to get rid of steam, and I'm thinking about venting it through my soffit. Now, my soffit is completely wood, no vinyl, so it's all original. And I'm just nervous that maybe the steam could end up rotting the soffit out.
It's a great question. Well, we've got Zach Detmore, contractor for This Old House, here on the line to help us out. Zach, what do you think?
Hey, Sam, I'm excited about this. I know all about this because I live in one of these houses.
Oh, great.
Zach, for people who can't picture this setup in their head, can you paint a visual for us of where these pieces are and how a soffit works?
Sure. So if you draw a box and then you put a big triangle on top of it, right? And the triangle is the roof and it's larger than the box it's sitting on top of. There's these little overhangs. If you just think of, a child's drawing of a house and those overhangs. Or mine, right? If you're thinking of those overhangs, that's where we're trying to get this bathroom vent fan to vent into. And the nice thing about it is we're not penetrating the roof. So it's less likely we're going to get water coming in versus if we just, shove this vent straight through the roof. Have you opened up the ceiling at all yet to see if you can connect easily through the ceiling into the soffit space?
Actually, I have a full open attic space right above my bathroom, so I can easily just cut a hole and the soffit's just right at the edge.
Perfect. Okay, and do you have deep overhangs, like 24 inches on your house, or are they relatively shallow?
They're relatively shallow, maybe 10 inches.
Okay. So I think you're not going to have any issues when it comes to rotting with the steam. You're going to use what's called a soffit vent or a louvered hood vent, but basically it's going to help sort of divert the moisture left and right when it's coming out of your soffit. But there shouldn't be enough water to encourage rotting. And because you have airflow on the bottom of the wood of your soffit and airflow on the top of the wood, rot almost always is because things can't dry out. And this fan is going to put a little bit of moisture out, in the winter when you take a shower, for example, and there'll be some moisture in the air, and then it's going to turn off, and the rest of the day it's going to dry. I wouldn't be concerned about it at all. I think you would make that connection, and you'll be off to the races. The only thing that can be a little awkward is just fishing that pipe through the soffit can be annoying because it's just like an awkward event, but it's totally doable. One thing you don't want to do is have any leaks between the fan and the soffit where it's dumping moisture into the soffit itself.
Right, definitely. And would you recommend using a insulated tubing to connect the fan and the vent?
It depends on if you have the space for it, because you said you have a relatively short overhang. I'm just concerned that maybe an insulated pipe would be restricted when it's passing between the exterior wall. In general, we want to insulate pipes when we're worried that condensation is going to build up on them and it's going to drip interior, but you have a fairly short run, right? You're going straight out. So that would be a less of a concern for me. And pre-insulated pipes are usually they're not smooth on the inside, I'll say. So there's a higher chance it'll be easier for the fan to not move as many CFM because of the irregularities on the inside of the pipe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think you're good to go. I see no problems with this, Sam. Start cutting and ripping the thing apart.
I will. My wife's going to be super excited. She's been tired of having to open the windows in the wintertime.
You'll love it. And one little pro tip I like to do is put a countdown timer switch instead of a regular switch. That way you can let that fan do what it needs to get the humidity out of the bathroom, but you don't have to remember to come and turn it off, because a lot of people don't think about the fact that they're paying to condition the air in their house, and every time they turn a fan on like that, they're paying to have that conditioned air removed from the house. So you want that to turn off on its own, unless you're very good about turning it off. And you sound like a responsible man, but just in case you're not.
How long ideally do you want that fan to run after your shower ends?
Well, are you asking Morrow? Or are you asking me?
Yes.
Didn't he say
Morrow
something like 20
this.
minutes before and after your shower? Something like that, he said? So
Yeah,
if you're
I remember hearing that yesterday.
Yeah, if you're a painter, you may as well just leave the thing running all the time. But for me, I would say 15 minutes after a shower does the job, especially if it's running during the shower.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, thanks for the call.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you all.
All right, take care.
After the break, Kamaria Gray of Detroit's Hoodstead Farms shares her tips on starting an urban garden literally anywhere. That's coming up on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Coming up, thinking about starting a garden this year but don't know where to begin? Kamaria Gray of Detroit's Hoodstead joins us to share how you can start your own garden, whether you live in the city or countryside. But first, we head to Morrison, Colorado, where singer-songwriter Nathaniel Rateliff stripped a 70s cabin to the studs and rebuilt it into a mountain hideaway, complete with a recording studio and enough room for his whole band to gather around the dinner table.
My name's Nathaniel Rateliff. I am a musician, singer, songwriter, recording artist, and this is my old house. I grew up on a construction site with my father, but I wouldn't say that I'm the best carpenter, but I have a fair amount of knowledge about a lot of structural stuff in terms of repair, and then growing up in a way where you had to fix something on your own because there was no other way to fix it, whether that be a car or a broken window. I remember renting a place and my buddies were goofing off and they crashed through the window and I had to replace the glass and reglaze the window, which is all stuff I remembered from watching my dad do it when he was a house painter and redoing windows as well. So those skills, whether I had done it a lot professionally, they were all in there. I was always looking for a space, even if I was renting, to create sort of like a musical, artistic sanctuary. And the homes themselves or apartments or wherever I was at were always a shell. I found this house in 2018, 35 minutes west of Denver. And I remember driving up a road and there's a little creek and you kind of have to cross the creek. And I remember looking at it and being like, does this feel like home? And I pulled into the property and at the time everything was really overgrown. I remember popping into the clearing by the carport and that revealed this giant red rock cliff that is the back of the property. So the 5 acres backs up to the base of this giant cliff. And right then also a red-tailed hawk was circling and I was just like, this is the place. But it also needed a lot of work. And originally I was like, okay, I can do this. Like me and some buddies, first thing I'm doing is a studio and then I'll gut the rest of the house. We started with that, and I was pretty naive to the expense of anything, or even all the ductwork that was here was just full of dead rodents, live rodents, feces. And the walls, we kept finding 6-foot bull snakes in the walls. The previous owners had cats, so there's all this stuff you think is going to be easy, and then just layers of gross. We started with the basement and the studio, and that took about a year. The studio I built, originally the control room was going to be pretty small, and that ended up just being storage. And that was the other big mistake I made, is I was like, I don't want any closets. I thought I was going to be a minimalist, and I'm not a minimalist at all. So that original control room became storage for other instruments and gear. And then what was going to have a hang room in the studio became our control room. On the main level, there's a great room up there with gorgeous windows that look out on the rock. And that's probably my favorite room in the house. And it came with a great little wood stove. At one point, it went out the wall, and we had switched it to go straight up just because I thought aesthetically that would look cool. But then we were left with a hole in the wall in this brick. And the house has a particular brick called slump block that was made here. And I didn't want to get rid of it. So I actually had a friend create a piece of art that became a window for the old hole where the flue went. That great room had a drop ceiling, but you could see outside that there were beams running. And I was like, I wonder if those beams run all the way across. And they did. So underneath this drop ceiling was the slatted wood ceiling with giant wooden beams running through the room. Aesthetically, it was really beautiful and was nice to reveal. And so when we pulled that down, we ended up keeping that. To me, I find that music and carpentry are similar in a way that you can actually look at something at the end of the day and see what you've created. And sometimes that can be by yourself and you can be like, wow, I can't believe I did that. I remember creating a pergola and creating the roof and then having to shim it up by myself. I'd framed this whole thing out. And then I was like, now I got to get it up on the wall to lag this into the brick. I do find there's that joy that it's a finished product. And with recording, I always try to do a song a day. If you have a song written, then record that, capture it, and then start adding the layers to it that needs to be done. So by the end of the day, it's mixed and it's listenable, and you're not waiting for anybody else to show you what needs to be done. The process, it feels like a discovery, and then a finished product that you can actually celebrate, and it's tangible. It has become the sanctuary that I wanted. The only thing that's tough sometimes, since I did live downtown and in my community and walking distance from a bar and venue that we played at and hung out all the time, I miss a bit of that community sense. But I do feel there's so much output that you're giving energetically and emotionally and physically when you're on tour. that when I come home, I just want to shut down and be peaceful, or like mow 3 acres of grass. It's become like a very safe, calming space. But at the same time, I never look at anything as finished. Now I've lived in what was finished upstairs, and I'm like, what if we painted this color? Or what if we did this? The open floor plan doesn't work with the studio in the basement. You can't really be in the master bedroom or anywhere in the house and not hear the music happening, which is fun sometimes, but not always. If I want other bands, or if I want to let other producers work in my space or have access to the equipment, then they're actually in my space, and I don't always have the energy for that. And so we're going to move the studio and build another studio barn. And the same thing with the area around the house. I just added a small greenhouse, and there was new construction across from me. So to block the view of my house from them, built a berm. And then we've just put in like 16 lodgepole pines as well. Everything's changing constantly, but I feel good about that. The space and the property inspires. It creates a sense of peace, and in that, you find inspiration.
That was Nathaniel Rateliff. You can catch him on tour with his band, The Night Sweats, all summer long. You're listening to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. At This Old House, no project is too big or too small for us to handle. However, some jobs require a specialist that is the best at what they do. Today, we're taking the homestead to a city near you. Kamaria Gray is the co-founder of Detroit Hoodstead, a thriving working garden in Detroit, Michigan. She joins us here to share expert tips and tricks to help you start a working garden no matter where you live. Kamaria, welcome to This Old House Radio Hour.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I'm so glad to have you here with us. I guess my first question is it possible to start a garden even if you only have a planter or a windowsill?
Yeah, absolutely. When I lived with my parents, I grew a couple container plants inside of their kind of like Florida room in their house. And it didn't have like a lot of south-facing light, but I was able to grow bell peppers and tomatoes. I think that you can start a garden anywhere as long as you have good soil and a little bit of sunlight.
And what are the first steps for starting a working garden, whether you live in the heart of a city or out in the countryside?
The main thing I think is soil. Making sure you have a proper foundation is going to be, the cornerstone of anything. So having soil that contains moisture, that is healthy, that has the right nutrients in it is going to be really important for you to start a garden. That is your base. That is where everything is beginning its life. So you want to make sure that you have really healthy soil.
And is there any way for you to assess that in the beginning? Like if I were wanting to start a garden, how can I find out if I have the right nutrients or if I have good soil?
There are soil testing kits that you can buy online yourself, but I always recommend using the experts and resources within your community. We are a part of a garden resource program here in the city of Detroit, and they'll come to your property and they will check your soil for you, and they'll do the test and walk you through it. And although I think the internet is great and you can find a lot of information on the internet, I think the connection with a fellow human being who knows a little bit more than you is a great place to start.
Especially if it's somebody from your growing area. I mean, they're going to have additional knowledge and additional ideas that work in your specific situation in your specific area.
Exactly.
So what are some ways that you've boosted the nutrients in your soil?
We've boosted the nutrients in our soil by using compost. The best things to compost are obviously going to be things that you would grow out of the soil already. So like your discarded fruits and vegetables, banana peels, onion skins, old tomato casings, things that you discard when you're cooking, like the tops of the garlic cloves and whatnot. All of that can return into the compost. And then even if you have, say, like some kind of vegetable dish that doesn't have too much cooked meats or starches in it, you can return that to your compost as well. You can return that back to the earth. So basically, you want to add ingredients that come from the earth, because then they will break down within the earth.
So once you have a garden ready for seeding, what crops or vegetables would you recommend to start your garden?
I always recommend crops that I know grow in abundance, just because I feel like that instant gratification will keep a lot of people going, especially in the beginning. So tomatoes, specifically like sun gold tomatoes or cherry tomatoes, the smaller kind of tomatoes, because they don't need quite as much growing space as your larger varieties of tomatoes. And they're so plentiful that it's kind of like a really rewarding crop to start as a beginner. Anything in the squash family, squash is just like, it's like annoying. It's annoyingly hard to get rid of. So I feel like if you're a beginner and you really want to see something grow, anything in the squash family is going to be great.
And how do you assess your growing area? Is there a rule of thumb as to how many crops or vegetables you can grow per square foot?
Yeah, there definitely is, but it depends on what kind of crop you're growing. Smaller crops like onions and lettuce and spinach for tomato, you probably need one plant per square foot. But for like things that are larger, like squash or pumpkins, you would need more space. It's important to kind of research what plants you want to grow, and then use the resources that are available to you. So like the plant seeds often have instructions that let you know exactly where you need to plant, exactly how much square feet you need per plant.
And what do you think people's expectations should be during their first growing season?
Low. Yeah, I think a big thing about beginning and gardening is kind of like taking your pride out of it. I think we're so used to like internet culture and things being so convenient and fast, that's what we expect in gardening. And like Mother Earth is a very testy medium. So have low expectations, but not so low that you don't believe that you can do it, even if you don't have a successful first season. It's like that phrase: if at first you don't succeed, try again. So yeah, keep them low. Like, don't, you're not gonna grow. You're not about to be Jack and the Beanstalk like right out the gate. So,
do you have any favorite tips or tricks for keeping pests away?
Yeah, companion planting for the bugs. So companion planting means like planting crops together that kind of like have similar wants and needs as far as nutrients, sun, shade, and whatnot. You can companion plant things that bugs specifically do not like lemon balm and cilantro and things, nasturtium, things that have a strong scent that mosquitoes and flies are not fond of. And then bunnies and kind of like the mammals or whatever that live on your property. I don't believe in killing things, and I don't believe in pesticides. So like my solution for this was to just invite them on in. So we made a small garden for the bunnies to eat. So we made a small garden with spinach and lettuce and kind of like easily grown greens that they can eat themselves in the hopes that they would stay out of our actual garden. So we kind of just gave them a space because I'm not about to fight them. But I just think giving them a space was our best solution. And for the most part, it's worked.
Does netting or anything like that work, or it's kind of, they get through it?
I haven't tried too much netting. The problem I find with netting or any kind of covering is that it keeps the pollinators out. While it keeps, the pests out, it also keeps the pollinators out. And that is crucial for your garden to survive. You need those bumblebees to get in there, and bumblebees are fat. So if you've got this tight netting, like they can't get through, they can't eat, they can't pollinate your garden. So I've kind of foregone that idea to welcome, our natural pollinators.
What's one lesson from your first season that completely changed the way you approach how you grow now?
I have more of a philosophical answer, and I don't know if it's going to be understood by everybody, but a big lesson I learned was leaning into like ancestral wisdom, leaning into ancestral practices that existed before I was here, respecting the land, native practices like the Three Sisters planting method, where you grow corn, squash, and beans all together, and they kind of like they support each other in their growing and their nutrients. leaning into like the rhythmic patterns of the earth and African practices on when to plant, when to water. So yeah, kind of just like leaning on my ancestors, like a lot of things that we categorize today as like regenerative gardening or sustainable is really just like ancestral wisdom, you know, kind of repackaged for like mainstream consumption.
Yeah, my kids would they would go for some blueberries. Do you have any tips for blueberries?
Blueberries are hard.
Yeah. Okay.
I keep trying. And I'm like, I've not had success with blueberries or blackberries yet. Like, I don't know what's going on. So no, I don't have any tips as of yet.
Okay.
But when I do, I'll let you know.
We'll circle back.
Yeah.
I think I need some.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing all your knowledge and everything that you've learned, and really love what you're doing and appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me. It was really great, and I love this conversation. I hope everyone starts a garden.
I do too. That was Kamaria Gray from Detroit Hoodstead. Need help with your next project? Call This Old House Radio Hour's home repair hotline at 877-864-7460. We're nearly at the end of the show, which means it's time for the Simple Fix.
Hi, Jen. It's Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, and this is my Simple Fix. Ever get lint coming off your roller while you're painting? My simple fix is, when your paint roller cover is dry, take out a piece of painter's tape and roll the cover up and down the painter's tape so that painter's tape takes all the loose particles off that roller cover. Then you're ready to get that roller wet and put it on the wall, and you'll have no fibers stuck in the paint.
We'll see you next week on This Old House Radio Hour. Our show is distributed by and co-produced by LAist Studios and APM, American Public Media. This Old House Radio Hour was created and produced by Ember 20. Listen to new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday on your app of choice. You can follow This Old House on all the socials at This Old House, all one word. We'll see you next week.